This is Ndtv. And you're watching Ndtv Hindu.
Hello and welcome to Suryadev QST Rebar's Property Matters. It's time for all the realty news from the beautiful city of Chennai. Today we have quite a bit of travelling to do, from GST Road to OMR to Boat Club Road to Gummidipundi. So let's hit the road and be off to our first property, Estancia, L&T and Arun XLO's brand new baby on GST Road. GST Road is yet another corridor for commercial and residential development, with many a builder making a beeline for a prime spot on this long road. Estancia, a joint venture project by L&T and Arun XLO, was launched around 2 years ago and contributed to changing the face of GST Road. Located around 40 kilometers from Central Station in the city and right next door to SRM College, Estancia, an integrated township spread out over 80 acres of land, will have residential, commercial and retail complexes when completed.
This is located very strategically, in my opinion, because it is on a national highway, NH45, also known as GST Road, and it is about 25 minutes drive from the airport. And it is located, the biggest advantage of this GST Road is you have a railway line running parallel to this. So access to the place by rail or road is very easy.
Estancia in Spanish means a large estate or ranch. The first thing that you'll notice when approaching Estancia is the bucket-shaped IT building. Behind this are 3 out of the 17 towers of residential apartments. The builders plan on having around 1,900 3-bedroom apartments, which will be categorized depending on the view they afford: Lakeside, Banyan View and Hillside Towers. The first 3 towers of Lakeside will be completed by December 2009. Area size would vary from 1,310 to 1,810 square feet. We took a look at 2 different model apartments. Both were similar in layout with minor changes due to area variations. The apartment opens up into the large living room, which has an attached balcony. This has the adjoining dining area followed by a passageway which leads to the kitchen and the 3 bedrooms beyond. These are well ventilated with a lot of natural light coming in through the large windows. When completed, the style of architecture will be modern with earthy colors and contemporary finishes.
We have employed the services of international architects like RMJM, Hong Kong. They are one of the top 10 leading architects of the internationally acclaimed architects. And we have hired the services of RMJM, and they have come. The whole design is merging very well, because the whole place is blessed with a nice natural lake which forms in the backdrop, a hillock on the other side, and we are also having a massive banyan tree which is 100-year-old, which is there. So the whole architecture is such that it blends with the surroundings.
Vidya Mandir at Estancia is the school that is already functional. The complex also has a BSNL exchange and will also have a star hotel and various top retail brands in the commercial complexes later on. Other than this, it will also have a 70,000 square feet clubhouse with different facilities like swimming pool, indoor and outdoor courts, gym, a multi-purpose hall, among others. The builders also plan on installing a very sophisticated security system and will maintain the property as well. The builders have also tied up with different companies so that customers can choose different products to do up their homes. This way, they plan on offering complete home solutions to their clients.
The prices start from 65 lakhs onwards up to about 95 lakhs. We are also, where the basic price is about 3,950 rupees a square foot. And we have some variations depending upon which level the apartment is located. So on the floor rise also we are charging some premium. And the usual registration and registration charges, the TNEB connection charges, the infrastructure amenities charges, service tax, etc. are all car park and clubhouse. All these charges will be an add-on to this per square foot rate.
20% of apartments are still available. For further information, log on to www.arunexcello.com. For our next property, we'll be driving off to Old Mahabalipuram Road. This one is called Lotus Pond by Vijay Shanti Builders. About 2 kilometers from Kilambakam Junction, very close to SSN and Forma Engineering College, is Lotus Pond, Vijay Shanti's mid-segment apartment complex. Spread out over 12 acres of land, this project promises affordable houses with all special amenities and features like that of luxury apartments.
From Madhya Kailash, driving down that road, it takes in about 20 minutes, you are at that point. In fact, from Madhya Kailash to city may take you almost about 1 hour. But driving from Madhya Kailash to that point, it is at a at 15 to 20 minutes you could reach that spot. But the other advantage, if you look into it, there are so many schools, a shopping complex have come up, hospitals have come up, Chettinad Hospital is there, other hospitals are coming up. If you go on to the other side, Tambaram is very close by. So practically, for your day-to-day coming to city may not be that very important.
When completed, Lotus Pond will have 23 towers, each with 9 floors housing 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. Sizes vary with areas beginning at 350 square feet to 1100 square feet. Structurally, these apartments have been well planned out in a modern style. We saw the model apartment, which has a living and dining area, 3 bedrooms with a balcony attached to the master bedroom and a compact kitchen. The layout and orientation of rooms will vary according to the flat area. Vijay Shanti promises about 30 amenities and features for the residents.
Here we are providing in a browsing center, for children's cricket playground, a tennis court. All these amenities are being provided. A health club. So it's balancing right from a child to the father, balancing everything. And if you look at the elderly people, we have elders park so that they could sit there and they are also comfortable. Every small detail has been taken care to satisfy from a 5-year-old to a 60-year-old person.
The builders say that metro water connection will be installed soon. They also plan on having a desalination plant and water softening plant for continuous water supply and a sewage treatment plant for water treatment. In terms of interiors also, they promise the best materials.
We give the best brands of India like Paddywear, Roca, all those brands are, we don't compromise. Maybe the price is less also, but we do not compromise on our quality of material what we use.
The builders also plan on landscaping 65% of the total property area, which will include a 2.5-acre central courtyard enclosed by the towers.
We have tie-ups with all the institutions and banks, and we call them to our places, or we direct the institutions persons to approach them, and they take care. If in case they require our personal services, of course, we do service according to their requirements.
Prices begin at 2,800 rupees per square feet. There are several flats that are still available for sale. For further details, log on to www.vijayashantibuilders.com. Up next on the show, we explore a house of true character that has been telling stories for decades.
Property Matters is brought to you by Suryadev QST Rebars.
Sabaj. With internationally acclaimed Thermex technology, Suryadev presents Suryadev HSCRS. High-strength corrosion-resistant steel. This is super strong and can resist any level of corrosion with ease. Sabaj. Excellent practice makes great music. Excellent technology makes great steel. Not just ordinary TMT, but Suryadev QST.
This is Chennai Live 104.8 FM, Chennai's only English radio station.
Today's refreshing radio 104.8 Chennai Live.
Welcome back to Suryadev QST Rebar's Property Matters. Beautiful weather all around, and it's time for us to visit our beautiful home. This time, my search for a stunning space has brought me to number 14 on Boat Club Road. This is one of those old-style colonial houses which will never ever lose its charm. I can't wait to go inside and explore. Let's go in and meet Mrs. Sita Muthaya. If I can find the doorbell, that is. Would you take a look at this door and its beautiful, intricate woodwork on it? It's marvelous. Hey, that looks like a button to me. Aha, that must have been the doorbell. This is why it's always good for one to stop and admire. Let's head inside. Coromandel House has years of history attached to it. Built in 1960 by Mr. Peterson, a British architect, this house sits on 19 grounds of land. When you walk in, the black and white flooring, the high ceiling, the wooden stairs and the general spaciousness immediately tell you of its colonial origins, but the interiors are a mix of many styles: European, Asian, African and of course Chettinad, like the family that lives in it.
This house was built by the British people who owned Binny's, and it was built as the managing director's house, and there were 3 or 4 of the people living here we have already known. The last to live here was one Mr. Jeffers, Mr. and Mrs. Jeffers, and after the British had sold the Indian company, there's an Indian director, there was one Mr. Butt who took over as a managing director. And he wasn't using this house. He had his own house at St. Thomas Mount in the army, because he was a retired army person. So once we were here, we asked them if they have moved in here and how they find comfortable. They said, no, we have not moved in here. We just use it as a guest house.
Sticking to our motto for the day won't be difficult in this house. Right from the entrance, there are knickknacks galore for one to stop and admire. Many of these are family heirlooms that Mrs. Sita inherited from her ancestors. Many others are pieces that Mrs. Sita and her late husband Mr. Muthaya picked up on their travels, and some are gifts. As soon as you step into the grand entrance hall, there are quite a few eye-catching pieces, like the collection of butterflies from South Africa. This piece has 1,000 butterflies placed to form a concentric pattern of pink and blue iridescent wings. The woodworked mirror on the side used to be a coconut scraper that Mrs. Sita rescued from her mother's house. She replaced the blade with a mirror, and now it looks like a piece straight out of a Maharani's room. Further in, you find Nazar amulets from Turkey and New Zealand, wooden tribal combs from Africa, and traditional wooden kavadis that were Mrs. Sita's father-in-law's. A majority of the older decor is from different East Asian countries. This probably is because of the extensive trade travels that Chettiars made to the east. A good example is the long row of ceramic pots from the Orient. These are cream with floral patterns and dark colors and stand out well on the black and white tiles. Other treasures are the white and blue jars from Taiwan, the painted pumpkins from Africa, the lacquered pots from Burma, and of course the majestic elephant tusks.
The elephant tusks has a mixed thing. The tusk was bought from Bangkok. The workmanship on the ivory was done in Trivandrum, and the silver work was done by our silversmiths from our village, and the base was done by the rosewood from our estate by our carpenters here.
Straight down this passageway lined with numerous interesting pieces is the formal living room. This room has furniture and decor that are completely traditional. The main piece here is a massive painting which Mrs. Sita recently bought from an exhibition. Its big ornate frame and vibrantly colored flowers stand out well on the stark white walls. When the Britishers occupied the house, it used to have painted shelves which Mrs. Sita replaced with rosewood. All of the wood used in the house is from the family estates. Here Mrs. Sita has many pieces in porcelain, the best of which are the three wise men. The ivory chessman is yet another interesting piece and a family heirloom. The wooden flooring in this room runs into the adjoining formal dining area. Here the side cabinets showcase Mrs. Sita's porcelain collection. The figurines and plates are from the world-renowned company Spode. The main highlight here is the dining table and chairs and the matching chest of drawers. This came with the house and was specially made for Queen Elizabeth. It is believed that the Queen once had breakfast on this very table. Then of course there is Mrs. Sita's prized crystal collection.
I always had a liking for crystal. When we started to travel, I was fascinated by all the crystals of Europe and places. So we were very keen on buying crystals. So you'd see that the bigger crystals were bought all in the old days, and the smaller ones you see are bought in the recent times, because the price of crystal has gone up so much. And there is a thing behind the crystal, this thing, because a person came to our house. He asked, who asked you to collect crystals? Or I said, no, it was my liking. He said, crystals are always kept in a house to avoid evil.
There are two doors from the dining area, both open out into patio areas, one uncovered and the other covered. These overlook the lush green lawn which Mrs. Sita's grandchildren sometimes use as their private football field, and also the sprawling garden and children's play area. Down the corridor from the dining room is the informal living area. Here again most of the pieces are traditional, and the furniture too, with rich red upholstery, looks striking. The divan has a modern style to it, and this too is made of rosewood from the family estates. Some of the interesting pieces here are the miniature veena that was a gift to Mrs. Sita from the Prince of Bobli, and the Rajasthani painting which forms the centerpiece. Beyond this room is the only bedroom on the ground floor, and this is mainly used by guests. Here the decor is minimal and the style traditional. Then there is also the informal dining space. This is usually where the family has their meals together and spends much of their time. Occupying a large area on the wall is Mrs. Sita's spoon collection. When she and her husband first started traveling, they always made sure that they brought back a souvenir, and the easiest knick-knack to bring back was a spoon. Mrs. Sita has around 200 spoons from different parts of the globe.
Originally, the house stopped with the informal dining space, but once Mr. Muttaya and Mrs. Sita moved in, they extended the house and created this space. Typical of a Chettinad home, you see the sunken courtyard, which becomes a hub of activity when the household is preparing for any occasion. Beyond this are the kitchens built in true South Indian style.
The wooden staircase takes you to the 4 bedrooms upstairs. First room on the right is Mrs. Sita's. Nice and cozy with a traditional dresser, bed and writing desk, this room retains all the British furniture that it originally had, except of course the lazy boy which Mrs. Sita's grandkids gifted her. Across from Mrs. Sita's room is her son's study. Classy and practical, this room is done up on almost all sides with rosewood panels and has the wonderfully familiar smell of age-old books. The dim lights also suit the mood of the room. Down the hallway is Mrs. Sita's son and daughter-in-law's room. This one is spacious yet homey. The dim yellow lights all around the house continues here too. This house is predominantly traditional in terms of style and design. There are only 2 rooms in the house that are modern, and these belong to Mrs. Sita's grandsons, Muthu and Viru. Muthu's room is right next to his grandmom's and is very sleek with modernist colours and the use of glass and wood. The splash of colour is due to Muthu's mug collection. Viru's room is the last one in the corridor. This too is compact and practical with touches of red. The funky round lampshade hanging from the ceiling breaks the straight lines in the room. Though most of its colonial touches have been retained, this house has been modified to suit a South Indian lifestyle, and this is what brings it to life. Coromandel House is a confluence of styles, designs, cultures and ideas.
I hope you guys had a great time because I certainly did. Mrs. Sita and her family definitely know how to play the perfect host. In fact, this family has had so many important people visiting it. The family used to keep a record of it in this book right here. So many names through the years. People who've been welcomed in through these massive doors and have left happy, content and well taken care of. Now this is a great way for one to remember their guests and for them to express their appreciation.
Coming up on the show, sturdy, solid steel. Stay tuned.
Sabash. With internationally acclaimed Thermex technology, Suryadev presents Suryadev HSCRS. High-strength corrosion-resistant steel. This is super strong and can resist any level of corrosion with ease. Sabash. Excellent practice makes great music. Excellent technology makes great steel. Not just ordinary TMT, but Suryadev QST.
Hello and welcome to Business Line.
We'll give you a roundup of all the business news and views from around the country.
Quick drive through the market update.
A best fit strategy for us.
The market saw a burst of action.
And we lost more than 130 crores.
How do you develop a portfolio?
Which is the kind of fund that I should be looking at?
See whether the fund has managed to outperform the benchmark.
Let's keep our investments real and solid.
I invest in my business, filmmaking.
Money making money for me.
What can they do to stimulate the economy? Bring new resources to be put in place.
We need to open up the new market.
Our target audience is still rural
The Indian economy has recovered extremely well.
Satisfaction is a state of mind. Business Line every Saturday, 7:30 p.m.
The show that promises to bring you all the action from the world of business.
Journalists are writing only for their money.
I would call it modern journalism, where they want to know about the private life.
Most of it is not true.
Is it okay to be really doing this without being concerned about the effect that publicity could have on these people who are in the public eye?
Don't hurt the feelings and emotions of the people.
So, are entertainers public property?
Chennai Speaks Out is brought to you by Aircel, now pay per second.
Property Matters is brought to you by Suryadev QST Rebars.
Welcome back to Suryadev QST Rebars Property Matters. We will be taking a look at different materials that are absolutely essential to the building industry. Today we begin with the all-important, super ductile, almost everlasting metal, steel. This metal is required at every stage in the construction of a building, right from foundation to roofing. Here at Suryadev's manufacturing unit in New Gumadipundi, we take a look at the conversion of this metal from virgin steel to finished bars.
Steel forms the core of the construction industry as it is used in the very foundation, and also every bit of concrete is wrapped around steel bars to form the basic skeletal structure of a building. This metal is an alloy comprising mostly iron with varying carbon content. Though steel was produced long before the 14th century, mass production and the wide use of steel only started in the middle of the 19th century with industrialization in England and Europe. Today, steel is indispensable in almost all aspects of life, and more particularly in the construction industry.
In building industry, the steel is used in different ways. Especially when you take building is used with the concrete for concreting. Steel rods are used for slabs and beams and columns and etc. etc. And different forms of steel, for example, C-section, I-sections are used for making trusses for factory buildings, and huge steel rods are used for bridges and canals and etc. etc. And then even the same sections are used in a pre-engineered form for huge structures, for hangars and for airports and for a huge span. This has been extensively used for Then we can say again we can go the factory buildings. Even so sometimes roofing is done with the metal.
Here at Suryadev's manufacturing unit in New Gummidipundi, we took a look at the conversion of this metal from virgin steel to finished bars.
To start with, melting takes place in electric induction furnaces, where the molten metal is again taken in ladle, taken for continuously casting machine, where it is cast down to different size of billets. These billets are again taken for reheating in a billet reheating furnace. It is where it is raised, the temperature is raised up to about 1150 degrees centigrade for plastic deformation. Then the process starts. After it is taken out of the furnace, and then the actual rolling process starts, where these billets are reduced to smaller size, stage by stage. We use about 23 stages to reduce the billets for reinforcement bar making. There the temperature is brought down. We strictly follow the temperature of steel so that the quality is maintained. And at the end, we have a quenching process which is called thermax to introduce a thermomechanical treatment of the process, which gives an inherent property of strength and resistant to corrosion and all for the finished product.
Suryadev is one of the largest producers of steel in the south, and this unit has the capacity to produce 25,000 tons of steel per month. Once shaped into reinforcement bars of different dimensions, they are sent off to different locations where they will form the framework of the structure under construction. We followed a supply trail from New Gummidipundi to Taramani, where S&S is constructing a new block. Here the steel bars are cut and bent to required shape and form. The bending and cutting of steel on site is a process that requires much manpower, time, and also causes a high percentage of metal wastage. A new phenomenon in the construction industry is ready-made steel or RMS, where the reinforcement bars are cut, bent and delivered to site according to specified needs. The GKS Group launched RMS in Chennai in 2008, and this new improved version of steel is catching on.
Ready-made steel factory, you will see basically three different kinds of machineries. One is stirrup benders. Stirrup benders will do thousands of stirrups per shift of any diameter, any dimension and any rod diameter you want. And these stirrup benders are programmed to do out of coils. In India we are able to get coils even up to 2 metric tons, and the best part of it is that there will be zero wastage when we handle coils for making stirrups. And in India you are now getting diameters of 8, 10 and 12 in the form of coils. So as far as these diameters, there will be zero wastage whatsoever by using RMS facility. Now what happens in for diameters more than 16 and up to 32 or 40 mm, we have a shear line, which is an auto shear line, which is basically having a hydraulic shear, and it can cut multiple rods at a time. The machine what you see now is having a capacity to cut 32 dia rods, 8 numbers at a time. In one stroke we can cut 8 rods of 32 dia. If it is smaller diameters, you can cut many more rods. After the cutting happens, it is been on a conveyor. We transfer the material to a bending station, which is again an auto bending station, which has been programmed to bend the rods as desired by the designer.
According to Mr. Hari Prasad, RMS has the following advantages: less wastage as the exact number and correct dimensions are produced, less inventory costs, less dependence on manpower, better quality bars, and less time for production. According to Mr. Hari Prasad, it is anticipated that the demand for steel in Chennai will rise to around 8,000 to 1 lakh tons per year. To meet the increasing needs of the building industry, it is expected that many more such steel plants will come up and expand.
So that just goes to prove the versatility of steel. That's all the realty news we have for you today. If you wish to feature your home on the show, or if you have any queries on interiors and properties, do write into us at feedback@ndtv-hindu.com. We'll be back again same time next week with all things realty. Until then, goodbye.